how far back in time does North Korea have to be sent in order to be a top 10 country in terms of military power? So here's all the rules. Basically, it has to be a top 10 country in military power, but nothing else, and it only has its modern territory and population. One thing I'll say is that this prompt says it has to be a top 10 power just in terms of military power, but military power is very closely linked to economic power, so that would be a problem for it. That said, you could probably argue that North Korea is a top 10 military power right now. Like, they have nuclear weapons, and less than 10 other countries have that. I'm not saying that they could go toe to toe with the other major powers like China, the United States, or Russia, but I don't know, you could argue. That said, I think it's pretty undeniable that if you sent them back to 1914, right before World War I started, they would undoubtedly be the greatest military power in the world. Like, the other great military powers right before World War I were pretty undeniably France, the United Kingdom, Russia, and Germany. There were other mid-tier powers like Austria-Hungary and the United States, but we're just talking about the four great powers right now. North Korea's military capabilities are decades behind what the United States has right now, but they still have stuff like fighter jets and cruise missiles and modern tanks and modern assault rifles, things that were basically unheard of and no one had even conceived of them back in 1914. And then logistically, they have things that they didn't have back then, like they have walkie-talkies and other communications apparatuses which are way more advanced and reliable. They have trucks and, again, tanks which have engines and are just generally more reliable. They don't break down as often. So they would have a lot of advantages. That said, fighting something like the British Empire at the time would still probably not go great for them, simply because in terms of resources, they would be way, way behind. They would eventually be overwhelmed. That said, they probably wouldn't have much trouble conquering South Korea and then maybe some other areas in China or Japan or something, but they wouldn't be able to expand out and become hegemon of the entire world because they're just too small. They don't have enough people.